More surprises.
Oh, yeah. Big surprise. Huge surprise.
How's it going, guys? It's Nick at Talk and Review. So this video is going to be on some underrated films for Jean-Claude Van Damme. I had to do it. I'm an absolute huge fan of Jean-Claude's. And I just want to give you a little treat of me and Neil many years ago doing our own little fight scene. And I added a few kicks in there, I think the first one was from Cyborg, so it's Van Damme's entrance where the guy's walking in and he does the kick. I do a 360 kick, which is Van Damme's classic, and yeah, just another kick. So have a look now. Okay, so back to some of the underrated films for Van Damme. So my first one will be Maximum Risk. This one is an awesome film for Jean-Claude. It's directed by Ringo Lam, and overall it's just a quality film. And the fights in it changed a little bit for Jean-Claude. You wasn't having them fancy kicks, they felt a bit more grounded for Jean-Claude in this film, and I really felt that Ringo Lam pushed him a bit more in terms of his acting. And it's also got one of my favourite fights, which is in the lift. That fight is filmed brilliantly because it's such close quarters, and it feels like it could actually happen as well. It feels like a real fight. But yeah, very underrated film for Van Damme. The next one, again, Ringo Lam's directing it, Replicant. So this was just around when Van Damme started to go into straight to DVD films, but this one still has that theatrical quality. Van Damme's playing a double in this one, so he's playing a clone that's after the serial killer. So Van Damme's playing two parts, so he's playing a serial killer and then he's then cloned to chase the serial killer. So I've already done a video on this one on my underrated ones, and so if you haven't checked that out, have a look at that. I go into probably a bit more detail as to why I feel it's very underrated. But yeah, again, Ringo pushed Van Damme a bit further, and it was good to see him playing more of a villain and being very dark with that villain. So yeah, it was refreshing to see, and there was some really good comedy moments which are not intentionally to be funny, but they played off really well. So yeah, Replicant would be the second film. The next one would be Wake of Death. So this film, I think it had a few problems behind the scenes with the companies. So I think either some of the scripts changed, and yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. This was the first film for me where I really started to see Van Damme push himself a bit further as an actor. There was a scene with the little girl that comes to his house, and because of her family had killed Van Damme's wife, etc. So there's a scene where he comes back to his house, he wakes her up when she's in bed, and yeah, he starts shouting at her, and you can see the anger in Van Damme's face. And overall, he's playing a bouncer. He's looking badass, but this was the start of Van Damme doing his depressed character, doing all the crying and stuff like that. So this, for me, was the start of Van Damme going into a different direction. with his acting, which with some of us Van Damme fans we started to get a bit sick of, seeing him play the depressed and sad and not a great character. But for this film, it's really good. And there's a scene which is a torture scene, and there's a bit where Van Damme says, "Finish him." And it reminded me of Mortal Kombat. But yeah, go watch that one if you haven't seen it. Next one was a straight to DVD film, and this film went into a few different interpretations. It was originally called Till Death, and then it changed to Until Death. And I think there was a few different directions that this film was going to go in. This one, Van Damme really got stuck into the role. So he starts off as a police officer who's a junkie, likes his drink, loves his women, and this feels like it's two separate films. So there's a part where he gets shot, and before he gets shot, it demonstrates that he's a real dickhead of a person. He's not liked by anyone in the police force. His wife wants to divorce him, and she's having a baby with someone else. And he's just down in the dumps. And then he gets shot by the bad guy, comes back, and he's your typical Van Damme, changed person, taking everyone out. And for me, I felt like it should have stayed as the first half of the film. That should have carried on for the whole film for me. And I think he would have then had a more memorable character, and I think it would have stood out a lot more. So it would have been great seeing him go to different cases and him messing them up or doing stuff that's not police-like. But yeah, good film up to the point of where he gets shot. This film also has two versions of it. So there's one with a happy ending and one with a not so good ending for Van Damme. So yeah, decent film. You can tell it's cheap, but I think you should watch it just for Van Damme's acting alone at the start of the film, up to the middle point until he gets shot. But yeah, it's an underrated film. Last one for me will be Universal Soldier Regeneration. So the good things are Van Damme is a real badass in this one. So he starts off, he's in this little calf and something triggers him off and he's just smashing some guy to bits on the floor. There's an awesome scene with Jean-Claude with a blade. Just taking everyone out in this building. And the action in this is awesome. You've got Andrei Arlovsky, who's playing the villain in it, and him and Arlovsky have their fight. And then you've got the Dolph Lundgren scene. For me, they had a real good opportunity to expand on the first one and just a little bit more. So there's an edge in there. So where Van Damme and Dolph meet, it's linking to the first one. And I just wanted a little bit more of just I don't know, a bit more of reference in the first one. But yeah, the fights are absolutely brutal. They're violent, and you're getting some good Van Damme kicks in there. The downside is Van Damme was doubled quite a lot in this film, and I think he sort of walked through it a little bit. And I think if he'd put a little bit more effort into it, because I think Van Damme didn't realise how good of a film this was going to be, and I think he did it because he had to do it due to contracts or whatever, and it turned out to be a really good film. And if he knew it was going to be that good, I think he could have put a lot more effort and really pushed this franchise into a different direction, and that's why I think he went for Day of Reckoning, and that turned out brilliant. So yeah, they're my most underrated Van Damme films.
Great job.
Let me know down below of what films that you think are underrated for Van Damme. Do you agree with what I've said, or don't you agree? Let me know down below. Drop me a like. Make sure that you subscribe, because we are trying to grow as a channel, and I'd love to hear from you down below if you've got any video suggestions. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.
See you next time.